So, good afternoon, lovely people, and welcome along to Design Theory, my Design Theory class. Actually, this isn't really a class, this is just a little intro to the kind of things we're going to be covering over the next few weeks throughout my Design Theory course. So, what is design theory? What's that all about? Why is my PowerPoint not working? There it is now. What the hell is design theory? What the hell is design theory? Okay, well, it's partly a science, you think? Or maybe it's more of to do with art, This is design after all. Maybe it's both of those things. Of course it is! That's why I put this beautiful colour slide in there. Why else do you think I went to all that effort? So, yes, design is a science meets an art, and there are theories, obviously theories we associate with science, but there are also theories associated with art, and we'll be talking about both of those things. This guy, of course, he was a scientist, and he came up with some pretty grandiose theories of his own. I'm sure you're familiar with the theory of relativity, for example, A equals mc squared, etc. So in a way, it's not just a scientific theory. This is also a design theory. It's a theory on the grand design, the universe. This guy, Sigmund Freud, you've probably, possibly heard of him. A psychiatrist, made some breakthroughs in the field of psychiatry, which are, still venerated in the field. Stay around designers for long enough, and you're probably going to need the services of a psychiatrist. I'm joking, of course, but seriously, this guy had theories to do with the mind, theories of the subconscious, theories of dreams, which basically help us to understand behavior, human behavior. And actually, at the end of the day, we're all humans still, just about. Wait till AI kicks in, but that's another story for another lecture. We're going to be talking about some of the great designers and thinkers of the 20th century. People like Mies Van der Rohe, for example, the so-called father of modernism, the father of the international movement, a pioneer, created the international style, which is still very heavily influential and visible even in today's buildings and design thinking. Frank Lloyd Wright, maybe you heard of this guy, one of the greatest American architects of the 20th century. Again, a very strong philosopher, character, lived to be a ripe old age, created some amazing designs and buildings en route, and practiced what he preached, really, in the form of his design philosophies. Le Corbusier, another giant, shall we say, in the field of architectural design, again, one of the architects who is responsible for modernism, and a lot of the way that buildings are today is still down to this guy. So what use is design theory? Is it just really about creating fancy drawings, with, in this case, bastardized version of the Vitruvian Man, complete with what looks to be like a power drill for an arm, that kind of thing? Well, okay, maybe it's more useful if it's something that helps, cutting up your pizza, makes that a little easier. Possibly. Both of those things are true. But also, it's responsible for helping, at least, make the world a better place, essentially. Giving us buildings that are greener, use less energy, are more sustainable, more energy efficient, and so on. Giving us hospitals that are safer places to practice medicine that aid in more successful operations, speedier recovery from illness and so on. It's giving us safer cities and places to be and converge and socialize. After dark, especially in cities, there is an awful lot of recent thinking, that is actually changing in this field, and it's a very interesting part of design theory. It's responsible for things like this chair, making it more comfortable to sit down at your laptop, your office desk for hours at a time, something that, by the way, humans were not really designed to do. And there is a lot of thinking now that actually chairs of any kind are pretty much a bad idea. But anyway, that's something, again, for another lecture. Frank Gehry, one of the greats of the 20th and now the 21st century, a guy who has, again, challenged conventions and, really, as a result, created some amazing, stunning architecture responsible for, in some cases, regenerating the lifeblood of cities like Bilbao, for example. This guy, Phillipe Starcke, is a product designer really, but he has also done a considerable amount of architecture now, and again is somebody who's, as you can see, a little bit of a clown and likes to, again, very much challenge conventional thinking and has his own unique take on the world and his way of doing things. And this guy, Thomas Heatherwick, a British designer, now also, again, producing architecture, along with this guy, Bjarke Ingels, the two of them both creating buildings for the likes of Google and Apple, with some incredible thinking behind it. So that's kind of where we're at with, people. In terms of a kind of an A to Z of what we'll be going through, looking at things like archi-tectonics, which is, to do with the materialist kind of stance on design, the material and the effect that it has on the shape and the form of a particular object, building, design, whatever. Biomimicry, the way that we can imitate and learn from nature to produce better buildings, better designs. There is nothing new under the sun, quite literally. Classical architecture, we'll be going back in time, 2,000 years or more, to the Greeks who gave us classical architecture, which is, still very much venerated by certain sectors of the architectural establishment in particular. There's a whole thinking now about design thinking, the way that we can approach design systematically to create prototypes, to test and implement final versions of things. So very popular with the likes of IDEO, for example. Deconstructivism, we're going to talk about the way that the deconstructivist movement, which was actually a linguistic movement to begin with, impacted on architects, how they used it to create buildings that were kind of breaking away, literally fragmented from the norm. Ergonomics is a specialist part of design theory related, as you can see, very much to the size of us humans and how far we can reach and how our limbs can rotate in relation to one another, and very, very important, as you can see in this drawing of example through a car, making, again, life more comfortable. On the flip side, we have things like Feng Shui, which is much more to do with the spiritual side of design. How we can consider our our soul, really, our spiritual well-being, and improve it through design terms. The golden ratio and sacred geometry, these are, again, principles that were established a long time ago, which are very much still relevant. Harmony and proportion are very closely related to those things. I'm sure you've seen this guy before, Vitruvian Man. Leonardo da Vinci, as we all know, was one of the great designers, scientists, artists of his day. This is the Modular by Le Corbusier, which again, is a system Le Corbusier devised based on the human figure as a method of creating buildings and forms and furniture which was proportionally correct, let's say. This guy you probably don't know. This is Christopher Alexander and his theory of pattern language, which again is a very evolved way of thinking about cities and how the patterns of places and spaces can very much influence the way that people interact and the way that they operate in and around buildings. Ruskin and the Seven Lamps, this is kind of blending and merging of both art and classical architecture and all of that into something kind of new, which is also very much based on a philosophy of what is truth and what is beauty. So that's kind of interesting in its own right. This is Wabi-Sabi, which says that there is perfection in imperfection. As you can see, literally breaking things and then gluing them back together with a special kind of gold, as you can see in this example of the bowl, Wabi-Sabi bowl, to create something that is still incredibly beautiful. So to end, I'm going to leave you with this idea of Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance. Now, this is a book that was written by the guy on the left, Robert M. Pirsig, sort of 40 years ago. Now, actually, he died very recently, very sad. But this is an amazing book. And on the face of it, you might think, if you start to read it, well, what's this got to do with design? It doesn't pretend to be a design book. It isn't in the conventional sense. The subtitle there, you can see, is an inquiry into values. And yeah, this isn't just one of the most important books I would suggest you can read as a designer, because what it will make you do is think about quality and values and what makes something qualitatively good. What is quality after all? Hopefully you've found this class video to be a piece of quality in terms of its content and its tutorial, of course. So that's about it. That's kind of where we're going to be at over the next few weeks. So I hope it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope it's going to be informative. I hope it's going to be interesting. I hope it's going to make you think. I hope it's going to enable you to come up with your own design theory, to evolve as a designer and as a design theoretician. There you go. At least that's the theory. So there you go. I'm going to leave it there, and I'm looking forward to the next class, and see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. You can like and subscribe. You can ask me questions in the comments below, whatever you like. Email me. Yes, okay. Until the next time, take care. Be good to one another. Goodbye.